Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. It's not about spaceships.
Hello, I'm Jason Vaughn, and with me, as always, is Rob Sketchcraft.
I am having a good time. Are you having a good time?
We're having a very good time. We had a very bum-out conversation, and now we're happy again.
We go to discotheque afterward, get some pommes frites.
So, yeah, just decided that we were just gonna do the time again weird, because why not? Let's get weird. It's been a weird week. Next week will be normal. We'll be back to our like 1 o'clock schedule, and dude, getting old, man, because it was staying up until like 4 a.m. for Star Wars Visions, and then it being like 105 degrees in my car, so it's probably like 100 degrees out of there, you know.
Right.
Those two things, they kicked my ass this week. I was just like, and I'm having to do dad stuff and all that jazz. I was just like, I'm done.
The heat will knock the crap out of you. Like, it's no joke. I remember, we did some training for Iraq in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
We almost went in there, and we went out to like Modesto, for like, was it what is it?
Where Rey trained the next generation of Jedi.
There's a military base out in the desert.
Okay.
I forget. I'm brain farting the name because I'm 40-something years old now. Anyway, I just remember walking out there and they're like, yeah, this is pretty similar to Iraq, and just the heat just whoosh right. And I'm from a desert town. Like, we would get 100, 104. But when you're talking 120, 100 plus degrees, and you're wearing normal clothes, or in our case, full fucking battle, it's just like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is I'm not made for this.
Yeah. As the son of an 80s party girl, my mother would periodically, for whatever reason, have her own place in Palm Springs. And they'd be like, hey, you're going to go stay with your mom this summer. And I'm like, I am? Okay. Haven't seen her in a long time, I guess. And then they pick me up. We drive out to In-N-Out. It was like the only In-N-Out around here for the most part. Like in the 80s, like there was one on the way to Palm Springs. Hit those 2 dinosaurs from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm feeling good. I got In-N-Out in me. I saw the dinosaurs from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and then oh fuck, I slept for like 2 days for like from that heat, and then I would get used to it, and I was like, But I was probably
it's something they don't talk about in Star Wars. Like, when they go, oh, the sand gets everywhere. Why don't we talk about the blazing fucking wall of heat?
Well, that was one of the rare good details of Phantom Menace in terms of character work, was Anakin being cold on the ship.
Right?
That was one of the few times where you're like, they actually took into consideration that for all of the considerations that were made to make him 8, in terms of character on screen, not that many were very bold or really played out, but that was one of the ones I was like,
it's just not personal the way it's shot. Like, that's where you see the limitation of George Lucas, like, connecting with emotion right on screen, because it's shot like they're here, it's 1, 2, then we look, and then Jar Jar comes in, it's done. But like in like maybe a Rian Johnson's hands, or someone who's more character development, it would have been up on him. You know what I mean? She would have put it. You would have saw the blanket come around, and you'd look around, and then it would go. And it would be very personal, like over the shoulder almost. Like,
you know what you sound like right now?
All I hear all day long at school is how great Marsha is at this, or how wonderful Marsha did that. Marsha.
Sorry.
That was how I would do it if I were making Star Wars. Kronk!
No,
she left Lucas for Kronk.
I do think if you had them about the same age in that moment, then you might have had almost a romantic, tender moment. Instead, well, I think it's by design though, but Lucas has it where she plays mom. And
it's weird though, because then you have that Oedipus thing, right? Where, like, later.
But that's the whole idea. I mean, or that's Lucas's point, is that his attachment to his mother is then transferred to his attachment to his next wife, or to his future lover, which is Padme. And then the fear of that childlike attachment, once that goes to break, you start getting your little cat claws out, you start scratching at things trying to keep it. And
boys with their mommy issues, girls with their daddy issues. That's
yeah,
kind of what we're dealing with there.
it's I mean, but it is one of the scenes that it plays weird, or it doesn't play out as strong as it could in certain ways. And so it's like I go back and forth on it all the time. Like there's things
POV,
about it. Mm-hmm.
because when you're like, you made the comment that Phantom Menace is Padme's sort of story. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see that scene from her point of view, really. You know what I mean? Like, as if we're seeing what she's thinking without saying it. Like she sees him, and then goes and gets her thing. You know what I mean? Her blanket, and then you see the thing come around him, and we're seeing him from her point of view. Like
Mm-hmm.
trying to take care of him or something. Like that's just one of those things that it's very, you have to, I guess, be like an actor's director in a way, right? Like, and he's more of a story, just moving the story along. It's there. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just there's a way to connect to it more, I think,
Yeah, I think in terms of like the layout on that one, it sets up why when he kills a bunch of people, she lets it go in a way maybe as easy as she does. If we just look at it as like a project layout,
I'm
like
curious to see how you're going to defend this one.
no, I'm not actually
Okay.
defending it. But what I'm saying is, if we were planning it out with Lucas right now, let's just say we don't know what he's actually going to do, but we're planning it out.
Yeah,
You're
don't
like,
know what I'm gonna do.
she's mothering him, so when he does bad things, her behavior is more like that of a mother than that of a peer who's like, you're doing the wrong thing, asshole. You fucked up. Like she never says that to him. Instead, she's just like, oh, Anakin, I'm so disappointed. You know what I mean? Kind of.
That's where the love triangle, I think, should have come in.
Yeah.
Where she sees Anakin more as someone, I mean, Obi-Wan as some like the high school, like the Slater, right?
Yeah.
Like the Zack or the Slater from Saved by the Bell. And she sees Anakin as like, oh, cute little Screech. You know what I mean? Like, or she's like, the mom to the son versus the what's the, oh, you know what it is? It's Breakfast Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Bender and then Anthony Michael Hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only Anthony Michael Hall has the power to kill them all. Like
That's true.
he wouldn't bring a flare gun to school in this case. Like Anakin he'd bring the Death Star to school and kill everybody.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing about the prequels is if you're like a defender of them, there's all of these things that are laid out that sort of stack. But then when you look at it from another angle, you're like, well, then if she's looking at him like the mother, why didn't this happen this way? Why didn't this? And so it's just like the cat chasing its tail on that movie.
Yeah.
Still love it. Don't get me wrong. Just a lot of what's that happened when you look back on him. So today there was a really weird Nintendo Direct
I watched
episode, and it's not Star Wars related, but that Chris Pratt as Mario moment, he's so cool. I was like, what is happening?
Oh, but come on, man, you're my age, right? Like we got Captain Lou Albano as fucking Mario.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm like, no. In the end, I honestly don't think it fucking matters who talks like Mickey Mouse in an Italian accent. But
I think that's a play. So when they go as joint Illumination Nintendo, Illumination got to pick some people, and Nintendo got to pick some people.
Yeah.
And the Chris Pratt is Illumination. That's what they do. They put.
You ever hear George Lucas talk about this?
No.
He was pissed off when he was making the Clone Wars movie. Well, because it was really a TV show for HBO that was like 26 minutes each or something like that, and they had to edit it up into a movie because HBO like wanted to own it in perpetuity. They said no. They said fuck you. Took the show to Cartoon Network and then had to remake the whole model for the show. And in doing that, when they made the film, they needed to get actors to come back, and they're like, well, they asked I think Christopher Lee and Samuel L. Jackson, I think, to come back and play the roles, but they didn't like ask. I don't think they asked Hayden back, and not because he sucked, but because this new Anakin was going to be such a big part of the series. They wanted to keep that voice consistent. And but they're like, why don't you just get everybody back? Why isn't Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan? Like, why are you doing this? And he's just like, I don't need to do that. Why would I want to do that? He's all, the only reason why you guys in Hollywood do that is because you guys want big actors, so that way they could promote B movie. That was the, you know what I mean? And it's true. It's like you don't, and if actually, to be honest with you, like when I watch, like when my kids like watch like Finding Dory or some shit like that, I find it really distracting when I know who the voice is. If somebody's doing a voice and it's like they're actually doing a voice and it's good, I'm all about it. But when I could just tell that's fucking Ellen or something like that,
I don't know. I mean, we all hear Tom Hanks and Tim the Toolman Taylor on Toy Story.
Yeah, I hate it.
And if it was live
I
action,
hate
you'd
it.
see that. But if you'd see them anyway. If it was live action, like you'd see Forrest Gump is now, you know what I mean, Walt Disney. Like,
yeah,
I don't
like it. I mean,
you only let actors have one shot ever. Like Christopher Reeve was Superman, and that's it. Like,
yeah, no, it took me years to be able to enjoy Toy Story because
I think the problem. I think the problem with voice work is that a lot of times celebrities don't know how to emote with their voice. They're used to emoting with everything else. Right. And so if you just fill it with a celebrity, you know, like you don't always know if you're getting the best character out of that.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I think most American voice artists overact. So sometimes it's nice when you get a celebrity to come in there and not do that. Like they're doing smaller things, like, you know, they're not hamming it up. So Chris Pratt was in that Pixar one with the orcs and stuff, which was all right. And, you know, it wasn't Chris Pratt being Star-Lord. It was just an orc. So I don't know. Like when these things, people were flipping out when the Sonic the Hedgehog movie was announced and it wasn't the Sonic voice that they were used to from the game. But
sure,
works just fine in the movie. Did anyone I think it's the best video game movie ever made. Before that, it was Mortal Kombat. So, like it's been. I give him a break. Like, you'll know when you hear it, and if you hear it, you get over it. Like,
I saw Anya Taylor-Joy is playing Princess Peach, and I was just like, put her in everything. She's hot. I like her. Put her in everything. I don't care. It's cool.
Yeah, put her in everything.
Put her in everything.
The Queen's Gambit's quite good. She knows how to. The crazy part about that actress is she knows how to act with no words.
Yeah,
like that's a rarity. It's not just because she has crazy fucking cool eyes. Like she really understands that there's a vibe, right?
Yeah.
And I think like in the Queen's Gambit, her and her the way whoever cast that show really needs. Casting directors don't win Emmys or Oscars, and they really should, because like when they cast her as the young and her best friend, the young versions and the their older versions and stuff, like everything was really good. Like
yeah,
like I always say that's the best X-Men film that ain't an X-Men film. The Queen's Gambit. Like if you watch that through the lens of going to Xavier's school for gifted youngsters, you know, you see a whole better, like it's even better than the
super pills.
Yeah. Well, that's Akira, right?
Yeah.
Like Akira is about taking pills to enhance or to suppress psychic powers, which I'm pretty certain is the basis for the next Matrix film, right? Right. So, I mean, when he's literally got the whole thing of pills, I'm like, that's right out of Akira. Like, it's crazy. Like,
yeah. When I watched that trailer, I was like, I think I know what's going on. I have no idea, but if that's what's going on. So, and I'm not like obsessed, you know? So to me, it was all these implications to fans. And to me, I was just like, okay.
Did you read the comics? They did a bunch of web comics when the Matrix sequels came out. It was one of the coolest and also craziest marketing campaigns for that movie is they did a bunch of side stuff that all tied into the Matrix in some way. And they did these web comics, which is way ahead of the curve, right? And some of them, they weren't all realistic. One was called like Get That or something. It was very Robert Crumb.
Okay.
Like super cartoony. It was these dudes
look
coming
at these
out of
big
the
booties.
He was was without the sex, but it was that wild kind of like bendy and big face cartoony animation, you know, the rubber band arms and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he it's these dudes coming out the movie. They come out the movie The Matrix. The dude's like, I don't get it. What do you didn't get it? They're trying to explain it to him. And he's going to go to a coffee shop. They're all explaining to him. He's like, yeah, just maybe I'm not smart enough to get this movie. And he walks out, and then everyone goes, all right, great. We don't have to kill him. Like they're all like agents because he's actually in the Matrix and they watch the Matrix movie. So
Yeah.
there's a theory that, and I hate doing Matrix theories because I was wrong on the last two when I did this. But the theory that I think is that people are having memories of the Matrix, right? And so they put out a movie, The Matrix, to show like, no, it's just because your memories of watching that movie, like, you know,
Yeah.
like people are they can't suppress the memories forever, right? So let everyone think it's pop culture in a way,
It's the Matrix and Inception put together. It's a Matrix inside of a Matrix, man. They're in your mind.
Well, that was my theory for Matrix 2 or
Okay.
3. So when I came out of Matrix 2, the ending of Matrix 2, Neo gets into the real world, but he's able to control the Sentinel and kill it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was like, well, how is that possible? So then I'm like, what if the real world is a Matrix? Like they escape, but they made a really shitty world for them to escape into because that their mind would accept
Yeah.
that the world is fucked up. Like that ain't the real world. Like
So it was like the Matrix running an emulator, and they were in the emulator version, and they got out of the emulator into the Matrix.
Yes. And because it was really shitty, they're like, oh, okay, our human brains accept the real shittier version. You know, but no, like I figured there were matrices. How many matrices within matrices? Like, because they're always going to want to escape. Because the humans, look, as we've seen in the Pandy, people just won't fucking settle down.
Nope.
They will not play ball. They will constantly go against their own best interests. You know, like good or bad, that's what they'll do. And the Matrix is one of those things. And when I went and saw the third movie, and it was literally like, no, you can just control robots. I'm like, it's fucking boring. Like, I was expecting some extra level, right? And it wasn't there. But
the internet literally killed the Matrix 2 and 3 for me because you had, I mean, if I just didn't use the internet, I would have probably enjoyed life and everything else so much more. But it was like at the time, you had a bunch of fucking dudes who thought that sports and sports team, I don't know, allegiance somehow applied to their nerdy fucking lives. And so, you know, you couldn't like Star Wars, The Matrix, and Lord of the Rings. What's your team, bro? And you just say something, and then they all fucking pile on. The Lord of the Rings guys, the Matrix guys, and then like a couple of Star Wars people that are like, you know, I like Rick Ollie. He seems pretty neat. And yeah. So by the time those movies came out, when I would go see them, I was just like, I'd see them for what they were, but I'd also like, you know, you'd have all that baggage with you. And I'm like, they weren't so good that it beat out the baggage for me. You know what I mean? At the time. And then I tried to watch them again. They didn't.
The only online thing I was following at the time was Ain't It Cool News, you know, like and Latino Review I was reading because that was when Umberto was breaking the Batman Begins script. It was around that time, like within a year. But
yeah, I was on like Ain't It Cool News. I was on Dark Horizons. I was on Chud. I was
Dark
on
Horizons.
Yeah.
They had all the Batman Triumphant scoops back in the day.
Usenet.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, the problem with Usenet, man, is it starts to look like you're in the Matrix. You know? You're like hierarchies and buttons and shit, and I'm like, I gotta subscribe to this. No,
I'm good. Yeah. But you know, anyways, so speaking of
Nintendo Direct,
yeah.
Star Wars.
That's where I was going. Was they released a short trailer that I pulled of Knights of the Old Republic, which is coming out in November.
A beloved Star Wars game is coming to Nintendo Switch. Blast off to captivating planets and join forces with Jedi, droids, and outcasts in this blend of action, role-playing, and adventure. Will you use the Force for good, or will you be lured to the dark side? Your choices determine the galaxy's fate in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, launching on Nintendo Switch November 11th. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
So, yeah, at first I looked at it and I was like, wow, you know what? I'm excited to play the original version. Then I was like, wait a minute, does this have implications for the other version? but it doesn't have the remake moniker attached to it.
No,
So
this isn't a remake. It's literally a
yeah,
port.
yeah. So it's only a port. So it's one last attempt to cash in probably on the original thing, and why not? And because once the remake comes out, nobody's ever going to want to touch that one, at least not for a while, without nostalgia, without those reasons.
It's not a Nintendo game. They're not going to feel that, or Final Fantasy. Like,
yeah,
like it's Star Wars trying to look like Star Wars, and the more it looks like Star Wars, the less they'll play the ones that don't look like Star Wars. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
like it's the new one will look like Star Wars, and this will look like an old game trying to look like Star Wars.
right.
Yeah.
Do you have a Switch?
Yeah.
Are you going to play it?
No.
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 I think I might.
I don't look, man. I don't. The thing with older games is I have some nostalgia for them, right?
Mhm.
I tend to let Let's Players play older games now because I have so little time. I'd rather spend it playing new games,
Yeah.
So when I want to sit through Final Fantasy VII, the original game again, I put on a Let's Player who plays it. As someone that I enjoy, that's chill, not one of those, hey everybody, what's up? Yeah, send me like none of that. There's a few people like Mage Master is really great. He's a British dude. He's chill. But there's a game coming to Switch called Triangle Strategy, which Square and their fucking names, man. Like they're just like, who cares? No one's gonna have that fucking. I just think at this point, Square is like, no one has that URL. Triangle Strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like it was an SEO based thing, like no one has this search result. We could totally own it. Cool.
I'm just trying to think back in the 90s if we would have got all hyped up for something called Triangle Strategy, or if we would have given it. I don't understand this disconnect with names anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's a 2D strategy game, with real-time lighting and stuff like that. It looks great. I would love a Star Wars game that looks like this, where it's like 16-bit but in 3 dimensions. I'd rather spend my time playing a new game than the old game. Now the remakes are a little different because if it's amazing, then it's like a new experience, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like when I played through Spyro when we made Spyro, and that wasn't like, I didn't feel like I was playing the old game again. So
Yeah.
I love the aesthetic of the older games, like the PlayStation and the N64 specifically. The PS2 and the Xbox era, unless it's really well art directed, like Psychonauts or Final Fantasy 12 or Dragon Quest 8, they just sort of look like smooth versions of like, you know what I mean? Like generically smooth versions of PlayStation games. Like I guess sometimes I prefer the pixelized textures. Like
Right.
the textures were so clear on those older games, but they had still limited geometry. It just looked like a clearer Nintendo 64 game. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
The pixels to me added noise. That's why I have a hard time looking at a lot of those games.
Yeah. When it comes, it's like I never know when a game is re-released if I should have bought it or not. Like when Pod Racer or when Star Wars Racer came out, I was super excited for it and bought it like right away. Jumped in, played it for a few minutes, and I'm like, I don't like playing this on the Switch. I can't see shit. It's too small. I don't want to deal with this. And then I'm able to justify it because my son 7 hasn't played any of those things, so he gets to play it, and it was okay. But
And I want the original controllers too. And
Yeah.
on a Pod Racer, I want the 2 N64. That's how I set it up. Like it's that code you can do where you can use 2 N64s to emulate the pod racing
Yeah.
controls. And it's not going to have that. And quite frankly, we played the living shit out of those games back in the day.
Yeah.
And you probably put 100 hours into Pod Racer once, right?
No, I was so good at that game. Like I couldn't lose at it. I mean, at one point I was just like, I played it so much. But there's also like a momentum behind a game like that, like which is the movie that you're so excited for, and it's finally here. I've been waiting for this since I was like 3 years old, kind of thing. And that you just can't really get back. And but I would love for them to make a new version. You know what I mean? Something new out of that would be the best, but ain't happening.
Well, I mean, look, we got Boonta Eve in Tatooine Rhapsody. That's a start.
Yeah.
Like Like, say what you want. And there's going to be a pod racing bit in the remake game. So there's something there because there's a whole pod racing sequence in that game. But with Racer, it was funny. So when we went and saw the Phantom Menace, I was in the army, and we tried to emulate because my buddy who I grew up with was with me stationed. Coincidentally, just the Lord, the will of the Force chose this guy and I to be stationed together out of 500 people in the same spot in Germany, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you start thinking, is this thing a simulation? Like, like what are the odds?
Right.
So we went there the night before, did the whole like camp out. We brought the TV and the games and got all the Joes into it, and we went in there and people were dressed up like Darth Maul. The movie starts and the film rips like Gremlins 2. And we like, is this a joke? And like, no, the film ripped. So they gave us a pass to come back whenever. We didn't know. So on our way back, we said, well, let's go pick up Racer, right? Because we hadn't picked it up yet. And so we picked that up and we were playing the hell out of that.
Yeah.
That for about 12 hours until a friend of us down there called and said, hey, it's back up at midnight. So we drove back. We were up all night, up all day playing Racer, and then went back. I can't do this anymore, right? Like you only do this when you're 20. And then saw Phantom Menace at like midnight,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, because when the Knights of the Old Republic came out, everybody loved it. I'll be honest, I didn't. Like it felt like I said, it felt like wrong Star Wars to me at that time. Like when it came out around, it was 2002. And here we are with like 2 prequels under our belt. And then you have this game that's like second guessing. Pretty much that's what the game was. It was like, let's second guess every like aspect of the prequels kind of thing to it. And I was just like not into it. I was just like, this just doesn't really, I remember Randy calls me. He's like, it's like the best game I've ever played. And I'm just like, serious? Okay.
I was playing Psychonauts at the time. So I was like, I just love Psychonauts so much. Makes me laugh.
Yeah. But I went and I ended up like, I played through it and I was just like, yeah. And then when I got with my ex, she was all about it. And I was just like, and it was like one of those kind of situations where you just got with somebody and they keep like telling you have to read a book. So I had to read Dune and I had to play that game. That was like my homework to bang this chick basically. And so and marry her and all that stuff.
And not because you were deeply in love and you wanted
not because I was totally
experience.
into her at the time.
Right.
But I'm kidding, obviously. But yeah, so I'm like reading Dune, playing the game. I was like, okay, it's a little bit better. I'm still like, I still kind of didn't love it though. And then when the Old Republic MMO came out, and I played like every aspect of that, I saw that at the grander big story that it was leading into. To me, it elevated it for me. Then I actually, when I finally, I was like, okay, I need to go play it again. So I played it the third time because I'm a Star Wars idiot. It's like the third time playing a game I don't like really. And then the third time I played it, I was like, okay, I like this a lot more now. You know what I mean? Like after that point, it was working.
Just takes up too much time for me, man.
Yeah.
Like it just like I could spend 20 when I did this Star Wars tribute piece for Retro Magazine, that took 100 hours. 100 hours.
Yeah.
To grab all the box arts, draw every I drew the Star Wars logo, I don't know how many fucking times, man. In the span of a 12-hour period,
Right.
And so it's like, it's 100 hours I put into one piece of art. That could have been a video game. So it's just like, at this point, I can only maybe beat a game once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Especially given how long they are. Like, I really wish they'd go back to making Nintendo 64 size games, like in terms of the scale of them, right? Like games that you could beat in like a 15 to 20 hour period the first time, and probably in like 4 once you know how to speed run it if you're that kind of person,
Yeah.
Because they're so big now. Like, well, you gotta justify. I'm like, do you? Is it that memorable? Do you need that much content? The last time I played through a big game like that, look, I played through Grand Theft Auto 5 twice, right? Like that's all I did for a year or 2 years because I beat it on the was it the PS4? No, the PS3, and then it went to PS4, right? And then I got it again there. But but there's a lot of padding in that. It could have been trimmed way down, like it didn't need to be as big, but it's fun. But every game needs to be that big, like every Assassin's Creed game needs to be 100 hours, really? You think?
I try to get into those games. They give me those games for free, and like I bought it's like an Xbox one time. They're like, here, you could have it, and I can't get into it. I try, it just doesn't work for me. I'm a weird gamer in the ways that it I like a lot of shit that, and I'm not just being like a contrarian, like I really like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, really truly enjoyed them, had a good time, didn't think that they were too hard. They were supposed to be challenging. You were supposed to level up and have to move your I just, the concept worked for me. But I have friends who are just like, you're fucking crazy, that shit sucks, that's just a bunch of work. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think it kind of like when certain games, I like to like go into that trance state, like almost like it's meditation.
The flow.
The flow,
It's
yeah.
That's what they call it. It's what they call in the biz. They call it the flow.
The flow. And so in those games, I am able to get that. But unlike you, I mean, it's your job, but like my passion, art / hobby / thing, I'm able to go play video games and sit there and think about that like constantly, and then pause it and jump on and lay down exactly what I meant to do and then go right back to it. Like I'm doing two things at once. You can't really sketch and have a controller in your hand at the same time. Huh?
No. And so the cool part about, like, I like a lot of Japanese games, and so when I'm playing games that will never be made in America. Yeah. I'm playing game types that they're just not going to make here.
Right.
They're not going to make Valkyria Chronicles 4 in the States. So it's not like if I work on a game here, I'm not tired of video games by the time I play one, because I'm playing a type of game that I could never work on, because they're just not going to make that kind of game over here. Like I'm not a Kirby guy. Matter of fact, the only Kirby game I've ever liked was the one on the first DS. It's called Rainbow Course, because you could draw these.
I wish I could put like text on the screen, because I just want to put not a Kirby guy.
Yeah, not a Kirby guy.
Right here on the bottom, not a Kirby guy.
But they announced a Kirby game on this Nintendo Direct, and it's like the cutest version of The Last of Us. Like, it's like The Last of Us by way of Mario Sunshine. Like, it's the cutest little post-apocalyptic game ever.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I think I want to play that. And they never would have got me before,
Yeah.
So, but they're not making that Kirby game ain't being made by Activision or EA, like at best they'd probably put it on mobile and stack it with a bunch of bullshit slot machine mechanics, so it's just like, I just don't get into a lot of American games, other than, like, again, I got to work on 2 platformers, but how many platform games do we make in the States anymore? Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. And I mean, and very, very loosely related, why don't they why isn't like Jedi Power Battles, like why isn't that one out? Is it just like hard to port or something? Because that's like one of the ones where I haven't played it since it came out now, and I would like to play that one again. I think my kids would like that one.
My guess is they'd have to run the ROM or the ISO.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Nintendo.
That just mean it would be super big and not compressed or something?
No, it's just that they probably have to like create an emulator and run it in emulation. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, it might be more trouble than it's worth, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, like, it should be made. But I would package that in with that Obi-Wan game.
Yeah.
And people remember, they were like, it's kind of the most realistic sword mechanics ever for a mouse. Comes out, you just hit the button. Like that didn't work.
That game was I don't know. I'm sure somebody's favorite game, but it sucks. Yeah. I don't like that the Bounty Hunter game either, the Jango Fett game. No.
Oh, Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
It's called Bounty
the Bounty Hunter game, Bounty Hunter. Yeah. That one, didn't like that one either. But that's why whenever we talk about games, it's like, remember that one game where you were like in the Royal Naboo Starfighter game?
Battle for Naboo.
Battle for Naboo. Yeah, it had elements of it that were cool, but not a good game holistically.
Well, but technically it did things that were awesome on the 64. So it had 5.1 surround sound.
Was that the one that allowed you to be the Geonosian, or like in the Geonosian battle? Which one was that? Where you're able to do like the little lasers on the ground, from the Republic gunships? Whichever
You're talking
one.
about, like,
one.
it's like You talking about like a Rebel Assault style RTS game?
But
Or
it wasn't an RTS though. Oh, but
Battle for Naboo was before Attack of the Clones.
yeah. So there was one that came out around Attack of the Clones that had like that stage in it, and that was
Was it
fun for
Rogue
what
Squadron?
it was. It might have been one of the Rogue Squadron,
Leader?
Rogue Leader, yeah,
Leader, maybe.
something like that.
Or Jedi Fighter. Was it Jedi Starfighter?
It might have
It's
been.
probably Jedi
It
Starfighter.
might have been.
Starfighter, yeah.
I really dug those Age of Empires ripoffs. Those two. I had a good time with those when they came out.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like
yeah,
those
the RTS
were
ones.
Like, the RTS ones.
Yeah, I did like those. Those were, but but my greater point was what I always try to say is that most Star Wars games are complete dog shit and always have been. I wish it wasn't
prequel
true.
Game or the Game Boy Advance Revenge of the Sith game. Like,
yeah,
I still say go play that one. I guess it's cartoony, but it's really well done.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And it was weird because like when it came out, it was like, why are you making this? Like, I remember when it came out, it was like so like not something anybody would have really bothering with at the time. It was
Except
like
Rob, I went down to the store and picked it up. Yeah, like I love the Game Boy Advance had so many. Like I was the only guy who pre-ordered Astro Boy because I was like, Treasure's making this game, and Treasure's they're fantastic developer. They did Gunstar Heroes, Mischief Makers, Guardian Legends, and so I'm like, all right, I gotta play this. And then I'm like, this is amazing. And my friends are like, why are you playing this? I'm like, because it's great. But I just think like, with Star Wars, if it's not realistic, people get all, but then they love Clone Wars, which ain't realistic. I don't know. Like I don't understand the need for realism when like George was moving further and further away from realism as he made more Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the first, A New Hope has that American graffiti Super 16 grain and grit to it. But by the time you get to the Phantom Menace, you're like, and by the time you get to Geonosis, where you're like, I mean, it's sand in Photoshop, textures only. Like there's no sand, there's no heat, there's nothing realistic about it. So it's funny.
Yeah. I was just thinking right now, I was like, I wonder how far we are away from some game company being able to do a Clone Wars game essentially using the Clone Wars assets. Like,
well, I told you the future of these CGI animations is they're real time. They're all going to be real time models in Unreal 5, which is what they're already using for stagecraft. So animation will all be real time moving forward. And the reason why is because the lighting and everything in Unreal Engine 5 is amazing. You can do billions of polys and it can scale it up and down, doesn't matter. So no more optimization. And you don't have to worry about, again, lighting, all that stuff, dude. And they can set it up in VR. Like, it's just going to be real time, all of it. And then they could take those assets and put them right in the fucking game using the same engine that they did the shows on. All that's going to become a blend.
A girl I talked to on Tinder told me she was poly, so I totally know what you're talking about right now.
She's high poly or low poly?
Oh, she was definitely high poly because it said 420 on her profile. AJ says, "What's up, guys? Glad you're streaming. Damn, cleaning ladies threw out my rolling papers. Are you poly by some chance? I know a girl on Tinder who you might want to talk to." AJ also says, "Padme is the main character of the Phantom Menace. I keep trying to tell people that, but they never listen." Shaking my head. I wrote an article about it on MakingStarWars.net. It's still up there. So if somebody you're fighting with is somebody who goes, "I do my own research," and they just need any old link, that'll work. Prove that you didn't just pull out your ass. But yeah, I am with you.
He is, but the POV is not hers. That is the disconnect.
Oh,
the POV is really is inconsistent and changes.
Yeah,
on a whim. It's weird,
So I think you have to read the scripts. I think you have to look at the script to truly get at it, because that's how messy the movie can be.
Yeah. I mean, Amy Hennig, when she was doing a Ragtag, she did an interview on the podcast. She was talking about, because, she helped create Uncharted, which is an Indiana Jones style game. She was talking the difference between Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And she's like, in Indiana Jones, you never go to the bad guys. It's always from Indy's point of view. Like, rarely do you see something from their side, and when you do, it's always weird. Like, It's mostly always from Indy's point of view. But Star Wars, you see things from the good guys and from the bad guys' side.
Now there's
You
two
know?
of them. Yeah.
And she said that story wise that presents a challenge, but technical wise it presents a challenge, because if you do a quick cut to the bad guys, how does that preload? What are the systems that have to happen to create that to happen? Now, the problem here with the Phantom Menace is that, yeah, you're getting seeing the good and the bad, but when you jump into the good, you're jumping to like 3 different people, and you're always just seeing the one bad guy side. Like you always, when the bad guy is Palpatine, right, or Darth Sidious or whatever his name is at the time, right? Like, so like you're seeing them or the Nemodians, which is pretty consistent, but you don't know who you're latching onto with the good guy side.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like when you if you look at Phantom Menace still, I don't know what we're on a Phantom Menace mood tonight for some reason, but we're doing it. In Phantom Menace, like the thing about it is it does in a weird way show strange growth by George Lucas. He just grew in such a strange way that it wasn't pop anymore, and it was supposed to be. Like when you look at A New Hope, it's like we were talking about it just a couple of days ago that with on the Marsha Lucas episode. You have this editing that's like the script is written where the droids take you to hit, you know what I mean? And then take you to Luke, and then everything kind of snowballs, and it's one linear motion throughout the whole thing. And you will cut to the bad guys, but all the good guys are on track. And you don't really have Leia on the ship and Luke at home necessarily. You know what I mean? In terms of like, but through the droids, you get it all in a straight line pretty much. And but by the time you get to, and then you have like the one battle at the end, X-wings and some people on both battle stations going, there's a war going on up there or right here, and that's kind of it, right? But when you get, by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, you have the battle going on the ground to take the shield down. You have the battle to take the Death Star down. You have the battle of Luke for his father's life against the Empire, the Emperor. And like so you have these like 3 things. But when you get to Phantom Menace, he tries to do, I think, 4. And at the end, and on the way there, he doesn't make it all. He actually, like, he kind of keeps the structure where Anakin comes sort of in the middle of the movie, like more towards the middle of the movie, kind of like a belated Luke thing. But it moves around. It's like, oh, we're here, floating shot here. And it feels way messier, but it's way more complex in actuality, just not clean. I think that's the big problem with it, just not clean, in it. Or and just to be clear, if somebody's like, hating me right now, I love that movie.
You don't have to preface.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I love that movie. I love like what it does, like push, but at the same time, it's like, if you love the movie, you should be asking, okay, so then why did so many people have a problem with it? Where is that problem? Because Lucas, like, we could say, I don't give a fuck if they have a problem with it, and I kind of don't care. You know what I mean? On one hand, you don't like it, I don't care. I'm having a good time
because
over here with
none of the protagonists are relatable.
But no, but where I'm going
That's
with it, yeah. But where I'm going with it is, if you love the movie and you want to talk about what doesn't work on a mass level, that's kind of the questions that you have to throw out there. You know what I mean? You can't just go like, I love it, so it doesn't matter that it didn't work. But Lucas wanted it to work with everybody. Lucas's intention,
of course he did. He wanted
that
to make
everybody
as much money as possible and everyone to love it. But I mean, I thought about it a long time. It's my favorite of the prequels, but there's no one you can relate to. And I'm like, I want to feel bad for Anakin being a slave, but he has a pretty nice life compared to everyone else on Tatooine. even Watto treats him with fair respect. Like no one's getting the shit kicked out of him. He's not starving. Rey has it way harder than Anakin did. Like the opening of the Force Awakens. Like, so it's just there's not enough pathos, for me to like latch on to anyone. So the closest you get to it is when when Qui-Gon dies and Obi-Wan's like, seriously fucking like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
That's the closest moment I get to like feeling anything for anybody. So
yeah, I feel like it was never really defined in Lucas's mind what was Disney and what was Star Wars, you know what I mean? Or what was like, because like he doesn't want to do, he wouldn't have somebody's face beat in Star Wars. You wouldn't see somebody turned into hamburger. You know what I mean? He's never going to do that. That's not really his thing. That's not Star Wars. But when you introduce the concept of slavery into a Disney movie, which is not a good idea. You know what I mean? It's like how do you deal with it? And it runs into all kinds of interesting kind of, twists and turns in that, or problems. In the sense that, like, yeah, shit should be heavier. But then if you get too heavy, you're like, no, I came to watch Star Wars for that Marshall Lucas feeling from the end of A New Hope. And not this. So it's a complicated thing. And and I don't think that they could have known what. I think it's easier to define where things go off the rails, what doesn't work after it's been released and tested for 20 years, as opposed to in the moment trying to make up something new, because it was still pretty amazing that it managed to even, get us there at all. Because it could have just been a complete, could have been The Force Awakens with Jar Jar Binks. That's what it could have been. And it wasn't. So I love it for that too. Hey, it's Mr. Acosta, Mr. Jesse, Mr. Thronkill. How's work going? Keanu has a contract writer that he won't do any more roles that make him shove and cut his hair. All right.
Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu Christopher Reeves, I believe is his real name. No, I don't know.
Okay.
No,
Doesn't want to cut his hair. It's fine.
Doesn't want to cut his hair. Doesn't want to. Elder Death Valley, how's it going, dude? How's the eye? Is all that stuff going pretty smooth? He says, I want the Switch to play the new Metroid game. Yeah, like it's kind of weird. Like Metroid Prime, I like it, but 3D Metroid and like 2D Metroid, they just feel like two different things to me. And I wish they would make 2D Metroid games. I wish. All right, we get it, dude. You're cool. Anyways, it's like
always wins.
Yeah. It's like I wish like there was like a Mario Maker for Metroid or something at this point. There never will be, but man, that's something I would go pretty crazy for. And did you play Mario Maker, by the way?
Yeah, I bought that on the Wii U.
Yeah, that was I
don't have the time to make the levels.
No, but
it was fun to play. Because at the time, before it came out, I was like, so we're never getting Mario World levels ever again. Mario World style games ever again. Because Super Mario World is my favorite Mario game.
Yeah.
And when that came out, I'm like, where are we? Right? Like this is genius. You can get that aesthetic back, right? And then you can flip between whatever aesthetic you want, essentially.
Yeah.
The problem I had is people just made levels as difficult as they could make them. And I'm like, that's not what makes a fun game. Like Miyamoto talked about that when they made Mario Bros. 2 in Japan. It was Mario Bros. 1, the same graphics and everything, just way more difficult.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun.
And
that's why they never, it was called the Lost Levels when they finally released it over here.
Yeah.
That it not only that, but he was like, look, we found out very quickly it's easy to make a hard game. It's hard to make a fun game.
Yeah.
So the Mario 2 that came out here, I know wasn't really a Mario game, but it technically was, because when it was initially being developed, it was being developed by the same Mario team.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a licensing deal with this company and then reskinned it with that company's characters. And then when it came back over here, they put Mario characters. So it kind of was a Mario game. That's why it still feels, but it's different. But Mario Bros. 3 is really Mario Bros. 2. Like that's where they learned, don't just make hard levels. And Mario Maker's just filled with the hardest fucking levels you've ever experienced.
Oh yeah. No, I'm really good at Super Mario Brothers. Like I'm not at the level where I could do like a speed run like those guys on YouTube or some shit. But if I wanted to, I could. Like I am good enough at it that I could be one of those dudes if I devoted myself to it. But yeah, I beat Mario. I beat the Japanese Mario 2 a couple of times, and it's just not rewarding. There's just nothing rewarding about
It's
the
mean.
game
Yeah.
whatsoever. It's just like I just I just feel like a bunch of Japanese dudes were flexing the whole time. You know what I mean? Like look at what I can do. And yeah, I could do it
And there's
too. And
tricks
who
like you can get a
cares?
thing, and then like like there's a thing in gaming where if you do something and you learn, oh, if I hit this block, I can get a reward, right? I hit this block, same spot, I get a reward. You hit the next block, boom, it kills you. That's not. Don't do that. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
can do that. Look how clever you are. No one likes it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Death
a bad
mushrooms
idea.
are just yeah, it's just really
Yeah.
stupid. Trevor Moore, before he passed, or the years before or whatever, would during the pandemic would play Mario Maker, and he would DM me levels from Mario Maker, and he'd be like, "This one is so not hard, don't worry." And then I get in there and it's like the hardest fucking stupid thing ever. And then he would make another one. He'd be like, okay, I'm sorry. He's all, here's my new one. I promise I'm not being a dick. And then like I get in it, and like as I'm running through it, I'm just like running, and then I realize at the very end I was running on a big dick. Just like stupid. But so I do love that about it, but also people did make like really, really great levels for it. Like, and my kids, they were like, that game came out when, you know, they were at the right age to like love it. And I try to get them to play like Mario 3, and they're like, yeah, Mario 3 is cool, but all the Mario Maker, like for them, Mario Maker has just killed the game. Like they're never going to love.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's weird
Because
it's
Mario
weird,
3 is a
but-
real game, and Mario Maker's a Minecraft experiment. You know, like it's.
but in totality, if you just broke up Mario 3, and then you broke up what has been created in Mario Maker, it's like I could see the kid's perspective to some degree.
I know, but that's the problem with our I hate to be that old guy, our modern generation, but it is.
Yeah.
They're taking quantity over quality now. Just give me more. And then as they get older, they're like, you know, there's too many shows. And I'm like, yeah, you wanted more shit, fucker. You know,
Yeah.
like
no,
you
but
just chill. Like
but what I'm saying is the creme de la creme of it ends up actually amounting to a really good Mario 3. And so they have it when you go into like their favorites, it's there.
this is why I feel with these Mario games or any Maker game,
Yeah.
the base, all the original games should also be in that game, so that you can play that level and then also pause it and mess around with it.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can be like, boom, and then hit a reset button so you can play the level as it was originally done. And then, you know, you could also,
edit
levels,
them or
edit
whatever.
them and then play them and then create your own. So this way they're getting the original experience so they can learn, here's what a fun game's like. Now go make your own versus just a blank canvas. I feel that, you know. But they're like, well, you know, we can make $20 off a 30-year-old game. Don't, just put it in there.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for Super Star Wars Maker.
You know, that's again like thinking about Star Wars Visions, and some people complain this is over the top, it's not canon. You know, man, that's what I loved about Super Star Wars. That it was fun, and it had crazy over the top bosses, and it's not this real. Could you imagine a realistic Star Wars A New Hope adaptation where you just wander around the desert for fucking 10 hours?
With that music. Yeah.
You know, like, hello, help me. Like, who cares, man?
Nope. They didn't see us. Let's keep going. Yeah. Obviously I'm not going to pull the tweets up because
they should have made Super Force Awakens, Super Last Jedi, and Super Rise of Skywalker by now in the same art style with over the top fucking design. Seriously, like it would be why haven't they? Like Super Phantom Menace.
But what's weird is Super Star Wars is a bit like clunky, but I love it. And Super Empire is fucking great. But Super
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, it kind of sucks.
Like the movie.
It's weird though. But I mean,
Got ya.
yeah. I was like,
It's
whatever.
as good as the movie, bro.
No,
It's
it's
kind of clunky the first one, but it's all right. It has a good ending. That's a New Hope.
Yeah.
Empire's excellent. That's the movie. Jedi, I don't know. Like there
No.
you go.
No, it's. I mean, if the game's levels had anything to do with the movies, I'd almost agree. But they're just like
the speeder bike levels don't work well on mode 7. So like the cool part, the mode 7 thing works well with space because it's vast, right? And Hoth, it's vast. So you get this open maneuver. When you got a bunch of fucking trees on you that are flat 2D little things, it's not fun. You can't maneuver. You just hit shit all the time.
And there was something like addictive about like Super Empire, even though like when you get to Dagobah, it's super hard. But it was just like, it was something about like the exploration and like the level design that third one just doesn't have for whatever reason. But
the developers probably weren't into it too.
Yeah.
Look, Endor is not an interesting planet. It's just trees.
Yeah.
In that movie, I get in the
You
other
sounded
ones
like
when
George
they added
Lucas
weird
when you said
orcs
it.
and willow shit, right? Like if I remember right, there was weird orcs that ate people, if I remember right, or some weird thing in that. I vaguely remember those Endor films, man.
The Gorax.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure. So Endor is just not as interesting a topography as Dagobah, right? Or Hoth or something. It's trees, and it's just,
I mean,
so
for what they're doing, I mean, what they're doing with it though, I don't think like the swamp of Dagobah is inherently better suited for a game than the redwoods. You know what I mean? Like
funner crawling around a swamp, bro.
I have a feeling that they just saw diminishing returns and like they just didn't develop. I don't know, but yeah, that's one I can't play through. I played through very first like 10 minutes. I was like rusty, but man, one of my favorite video game channels is Angry Video Game Nerd. You know, I've been watching that for like years, probably 10 years now. And on it, it's like obviously he plays it up for comedic effect, but also like critiques them for like what they are. But the one thing about his channel that's like come to mind is we were so much better at like Rygar. I could fucking beat Rygar in one fucking man as a kid, like one life, no problem. Ridiculous. That's a ridiculous level of skill that it was a waste of my life in the end, but I could do it. You know what I mean? I could do Contra without the fucking Konami code. No problem, man. I had that shit. But today, no way. Like culturally, we have lost the ability to do that. And those games seem ridiculous today.
Well, yes and no. So Demon Souls, when people go, well, that's just a game where you have to do the same thing over and over again. I'm like, that's every NES game because you didn't have a save.
Yeah.
You had to memorize every little thing over and over again to get through those games, or you weren't going to beat them. Like, and so when I play Demon Souls, I'm like, this is basically like NES mechanics with way better graphics. The one on the PS5, right? So, way better graphics. But that once you can save a game, people were like, I don't have to be good at games anymore. And I thank God for me, because I wasn't. You know how long it took me to beat Super Mario Bros., bro? We got that shit in Christmas in 1985. I didn't beat it till 1988.
Wow.
You know, I'm not good at games. Like, I'm good at like inventing and drawing and creating, but playing games is a whole nother thing. My buddy, he was the good one at playing games.
Yeah.
So I put him on the game, and I'd sit there and draw and shit, and then I'd play the levels I like. But RPGs I could beat because you could play through it and then save, right? But like on NES games, no, I'm just gonna die. I'm gonna run out of lives before this ever gets anywhere. Like, it's never beat the first Mega Man game. Couldn't get past the jumping off the platform. There's that platforms that drop you.
Yeah.
And I just can't beat it, bro. Like, I can't hit the button before it drops me.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I had a weird experience tonight. Is that I met this lady, right? And I'm like, this lady's hot. So we started talking, hit it off. It's going really well.
But
And then, well, this doesn't necessarily have a Larry David ending yet.
okay.
But as it's going on, she tells me, like, obviously, like, she tells me her name, and then she tells me she's like a twin and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, I grew up with a twin with the same name, and she's like, oh really? And I tell her, and then she's like, oh wow, I grew up with them too. And then I'm like okay, but so as it goes on, because she's like 3 years older than me, and it turns out she was like my best friend when I was a kid. He was 4 years older than me. His this girl that he met, and like they like took me to like Rocky Horror when I was like 10. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and like this girl like gave me like my first Depeche Mode CD, but I didn't put this together. Neither did she for like hours. You know what I mean? It was
This happened to me once too.
it was super weird. And but when you just mentioned Mega Man, I remember playing Mega Man 2 on one of the days that we went to hang out with them, but it was super awkward because they had, her and her twin sister had boobs, and they were like the girls that would hug you. And I'm like, I'm getting big. I'm growing up now. Girls are giving hugs now. And I remember like telling my buddy, I'm like, dude, I started to get a boner. And he's like, me too. Yeah.
Kids growing up. It's very Stand By Me, right?
I told her. She appreciated it.
How'd that go?
Yeah, she appreciated it. I was like, this is the moment for my this is my like Larry David moment. Let's tell her she gave me a kid boner and see what happens. And it went okay.
I got a little dick. It's pathetic.
It was just a little dick, man.
By the way, he really should have won a fucking Oscar for that speech. The fact that he gave that speech in a movie, Bill Paxton, True Lies.
Oh,
he literally says, I got a little dick. It's pathetic. Like the fact that he sells it. No actor is going to go on screen and claim to have a little dick. Show me the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like he's the only one who's ever done it. He should have fucking won an Oscar for that.
But
like,
want to know why he's genius? Because when you do it, you go, he must have the biggest dick ever. Because he's so cool with it. He's got to have like a trouser snake. Or
and
he
then he pisses himself. But like no, he has a little dick and he pisses himself.
Oh, did you show
love
it?
that character.
Oh, did you show
No, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But he's not lying at that point. Like because that's when Arnold is gonna kill him, right? Like they come in and that's my favorite part of that whole film. Like I just want, you know how did they ever release that Jesus movie? The Jesus from Lebowski, like he was making a movie about that character.
Yeah, it did come out. I didn't see it though.
I didn't see it either because the Coen brothers didn't make it. I didn't want to sit through that.
Yeah,
but I was like, it would be great if the Coens made a follow up to True Lies where it's just that guy. You know what I mean? Before he passed away, obviously, but it's just him going around trying to create scams and meet women. And every time he does, he ends up stumbling into some like Secret Service like crazy spy operation.
Am I excited for Twins 3 with Tracy Morgan? Because I think I am. Or Twins 2.
They really making that?
Yeah, and Tracy
I'm
Morgan's
excited with
in
anything with Tracy Morgan. So if that's true, then I'm
Supposedly, I believe that is what's happening. I don't know if Tracy Morgan is supposed to be related to them. If he is, that's even funnier.
If Tracy Morgan's in something and David Allen Greer, I will show up day one for that. You know, minus the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just going back to Twins at all is like, what are you guys doing? But yeah, I'm all about it.
What was the one where Arnold got pregnant? Remember that one?
Yeah.
Mr. Mom. No, it wasn't Mr. Mom. It's Michael
Junior? Is it Junior?
Should have been Mr. Mom, but that name was taken.
Yeah.
Like, that is the perfect name for that scenario.
Yeah. So AJ loves Angry Video Game. Yeah, me too. People are really hard on it too. It's so weird.
My favorite is his review of Fester's Quest. That was my experience with Fester's Quest.
Yeah. A lot when he hits the games that like I actually bought, like Fester's Quest was one, and when he buys like when he hits those like kind of obscure ones too, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it. Did you smash? Jason, please let us know. You mean play Super Smash Brothers? I never got into Smash Brothers. I tried. I don't hate it. There's nothing wrong with it. It just, for whatever reason, I just never got into it. Like it came out, I think, too late for me.
Jason's boner has entered the fray.
Yeah, I pre-ordered and got my first hug little boner.
I'm
skin.
praying the last Smash Brothers is supposed to be announced on October 5th, and I'm praying it's dick butt. It won't be, but I just wish it. If they were like, we're finally going mature. We're putting dick butt in Smash Bros.
AJ says that Matrix 1 is the only good one. 4 won't have that late 90s, early 2000s feel, but a modern, more enhanced simulation view on reality. And
sort of. Look, man, the thing about 2 and 3 though is there's like the prequels. There's a lot of good world building. There's a lot of cool shit. They just don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
You know, and the problem with those sequels was 9/11 happened and Columbine happened, and the original drafts of those movies are far more like the first film, but you end up in a situation where no studio wants to make a movie about about a building being blown up and raining bodies everywhere, and or where terrorists are the superheroes. So they made a completely different Joseph Campbell-esque kind of film, and it just doesn't fit the mold.
If Keanu wants to do cyberpunk, I mean, why did they not make Neuromancer? And why did they make Johnny Mnemonic? Like, it's so fucking stupid. Because those Neuromancer, if they just made it like the fucking book is, it's way better. It's way cooler. It's the Matrix and Blade Runner put together, and it's fucking great. I don't understand why that hasn't come out yet. Space Rastafarians. It's fucking great.
Every time someone brings up Rastafarians, unfortunately,
mm-hmm.
I have to remember Predator 2. Which is the most racist versions of Rastafarians ever created. It is ridiculously bad. Like, but that's my first experience with reggae culture, sad to say. That and perhaps Dan Aykroyd in blackface in Trading Places.
That's up there. What do you call it? You know, what was kind of funny was when we heard that Jar Jar Binks was a Rastafarian, that's what they were calling him. Because they're like, yeah,
really?
They not Lucasfilm, but the rumors that were leaking out. Okay. Yeah, it's like a space Rastafarian. Like, because, and it makes sense if you just know he's speaking in what they were calling a Jamaican like dialect, you know, you end up like, okay. And I thought Lucas had read Neuromancer and he was taking ideas from Neuromancer for Jar Jar Binks. Boy, was that not even close. But I always loved that their ship was called the Marcus Garvey or something like that. It's pretty good in that book. But yeah, but anyways, and then they were going to make it into a movie with that dude from Scream. The main Skeet Ulrich was going to be Case, and the Matrix took off, and I thought, oh, for sure it's going to happen now, and then it didn't happen. So strange.
What's really, it's not the same thing, but it's similar, is that you know, Guillermo del Toro wanted to make In the Mountains of Madness for the longest time. Had the script ready to go, had it all prevised, and after James Cameron made Avatar and it, you know, did all the money, he's like, you know, I'm gonna step in, because Guillermo backed out from the Hobbit films. I'm gonna step in and help get this fucking done. And no studio wanted to make it because Prometheus. They're like, it's too similar to Prometheus, and that didn't do too well. And I'm like, just because they poorly ripped off Lovecraft doesn't mean this won't do well. You know, like, this is so ridiculous. Like,
I mean, I feel like Prometheus, I think it's actually like, you could get mad about the donut scene or whatever. Who cares? To me, it's like one moment that's kind of stupid, but it's like, that's a really great movie. It's only a bunch of dudes throwing a fit that it wasn't Aliens 2.5. And it's like, and if they just, they should have kept, they should have kept it a secret. They shouldn't have we shouldn't have had any clue it was an alien movie at all. And then when they found out, that would have been like, oh fuck. You know, I don't know if they tried to do that, but if they had done it that way, I think it would have had a lot more love. Like that one M. Night movie where you're watching the prequel or whatever to Unbreakable. Yeah, like that was great. I had no idea when I saw that movie that I was watching something in the Unbreakable universe, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
I loved it for what it was. You know, But
Yeah, I was actually Unbreakable is my fucking jam. So like that's
Yeah.
why I always give Shyamalan a chance. I'm like closest, second closest experience to my life, man. Like that's my when I describe some of my weird experiences in life, I'm like that movie pretty much sums up a lot of the weird shit I've experienced. Like, so he tapped into something special with that film.
Yeah. I did you see the sequel that he made to Unbreakable?
No.
I
You know
haven't watched
why?
that one
Because
yet.
I'm afraid of sequels now. It's like Anchorman 2. I don't need to see it. You know what I mean? I will eventually because I love Unbreakable, but it's just if it got unanimous praise, then I would have. But it was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, and then I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit through. I love the movie so much. I don't want to. It's fine if it's just a movie. It's like, but then again, I'm gonna watch Matrix 4 because even though I didn't like 2 or 3, I'm like, I the Wachowskis have hit more. Only movie they've made that I don't care for is Jupiter Ascending. Like I like everything else they've made. So like,
Yeah.
despite what people think. So, but Shyamalan's been so hit or miss. And even with the prequel movie, was it Splinter or whatever it was called, with McAvoy,
Mhm.
it was cool, but it still was kind of TV-ish.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it had like a Netflixy look to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, like, is he back at like, because it was, dude, even Signs is cinematic.
Mhm.
Like,
Heinz is great.
yeah.
I love
So it's
Signs.
like, is he back to cinematic mode or like, like Blumhouse
I,
mode? Like,
yeah, I'm gonna watch Old this week, and I'm curious, if it's because actually, like, I know people were pretty hard on it from what I just the impression I got, but when I watched that YouTube trailer that they showed me 55, 60 times, I was into it. It seems weird, and
you
like,
still get ads on the YouTube, huh?
yeah, I don't have YouTube Premium. I'm slumming it down here and YouTube regular.
I watch too much YouTube, can't do ads.
Yeah.
So.
They piss me off because I actually have YouTube TV. Like, I use that for making my TV service and everything, and the DVR and all that stuff. And they kind of piss me off that they're like, oh, spend, $65, $70 on this, but we won't give you basic YouTube with no ads too. Oh, and YouTube Music, and that there's not just one that does it all, that they keep it all separate. It's like, oh, fuck you guys.
Just hook a PC up to your TV, my friend.
Yeah,
Stop with all these other boxes and weird things that I always hear about. There's a pre-built Roku. I just hook a PC up. I've never had to deal with any of these problems because the PC shit always works. Whatever else they fucking make, I don't know who made that. Like,
Yeah.
that's a third-party vendor who ain't doing shit. My friend used to make that. He worked on this. He was working on this third-party thing for Sling or something at Game of Thrones, right before Game of Thrones season 3 started, and they're like, we gotta have it for launch of season 3. It wasn't ready to launch till season 6. Like it took that long, and it didn't work well. Like, I'm like, just the PC version works. Stop with this.
Just wait. Just wait. If you have kids, wait if you have kids. And I'm gonna be like, how's that PC doing for you, buddy? You're gonna be like, I have to do everything. I gotta do everything.
Nothing can do jack shit. I don't care. Like, bro, the way I was raised, I don't have empathy for little kids.
Don't have kids. Just
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't suffer. You know what I mean? Welcome to Rob's childhood. I just don't. Doesn't break my heart.
No, it's actually way more selfish than that, because it turns out that if you don't give them a little bit, then they're just on you. Well, what are we doing now, Father? And you're like,
we're making your life miserable, kid.
can you go watch some like streamer who's almost going to say some career-ending bad word on accident or something? Leave me alone for 5 minutes.
The worst parts of me, Jason, I enjoy people when they're having a bad time. Like, it is a bad genetic quality that runs in my family. There's a strong dark side, and I have done everything I can to fight it. But every now and then, especially when it comes to little children, I'm like, yes, suffer. I'm not good with it. Like, but I know my limits. I'm like, so I would never put Rob in charge of a discovery zone. Would not be a good idea. You know?
Oh wow, your video just locked up for me. I'm not sure if it locked up for everyone else, but that's how this program goes. But your eyes are closed and your hands out like this, and you look very affable.
I like it.
But yeah, I think that's why like those shitty shows like America's Funniest Home Videos, and you just like see kids eating shit, and it's like really not funny, but they just keep doing it. I have to think it's somewhat rooted in that. I'm gonna pull you out and put you back in for a second to see if it fixes it on my end. All right, I think it did. Yeah, I fixed it. So, yeah, Mr. Eldred.
Schadenfreude is real.
Yeah, Schadenfreude. I was trying to think of the word. I was like, what's that German word? And then
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. Mr. Eldred says, I was so hooked with Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, that was
first
one of
level.
The first level was fun to explore, and then also like the last level where you're the Millennium Falcon and you get to fly the Millennium Falcon around.
Where you're flying around the space battle.
You know, yeah, there was a lot to it, and but also like at that time, we didn't really necessarily understand the limitations of 3D games, so you had no idea. Yeah, right. But when you would play it, like today, when you go to play, like you know what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. Back then, you didn't know, so you're like, what could be beyond there? There could be a whole fucking thing back there. We have no idea.
Right.
Whereas in reality, we know get back there, there's going to be some like on-painted backgrounds and shit on accident. Something like that.
There's a really great YouTube documentary on the Shadows of the Empire. They got all the developers. They did interviews with them. I'll dig it up for you if you want to sit there. It's pretty good. And they were talking about how like, yeah, we built it to these specs, and Nintendo was like, yeah, we're not doing that now.
Oh, right.
Like cut everything down. They're like, what? Like they didn't even know how to get the drawn cutscenes in at that point. They're like, how do we? Oh my God. They wouldn't even let us look at the controller. They wouldn't even let them look at, they had to like send this weird box that they could put their hand into and feel it. Like, wow. How freaking weird is that?
Yeah, you know? It's too far.
So, yeah, I got a lot of sympathy for those developers.
I wonder if there's like a bigger version or a better version of the game that actually exists. Like
the PC version was better. There was a PC release because the controls made more sense with the mouse and keyboard. Other than the flying. The flying was perfect for analog.
Yeah.
But the movement of him with the mouse and keyboard, 1,000 times better.
Right.
Like, and we've all experienced that that's just the case in general with first person maneuvering. Like, as much as I love analog control, a mouse and keyboard for first person games is still the best. Like, because it has that weird whoa, with the analog that you can never get around. But flying ships and cars, way better with an analog. I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel like video game journalism for a long time was really all about the controls on games. Like it was like the biggest focus. And then as we moved away from the Nintendo 64, and like that stage of gaming development it became less like, oh, let me talk about it if it sucks kind of thing, you know.
Welcome to the Wii.
Yeah. We could have been so cool.
It's VR without a VR.
Without VR, yeah. And
as a matter of fact, the most VR game ever made without VR is Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. You ever play it?
Mm-hmm.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Like it is. You move the set around the screen around to shoot at things behind you while you're flying forward.
Mm-hmm.
Now this makes no sense with the controller, but if you were in VR and you just look behind you, right, would make total sense. So it's like trying to do VR without VR. It's the craziest thing.
Matt, your screen locked up again. One sec. I got a black screen on you now. Let's see. Yeah, this thing is being dumb.
Melon's being a little bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, my internet's at top peak.
Yeah. I don't think it's you, and I'm not seeing any lag on my actual computer end. So I think it's.
Can they hear me?
Oh, you're back. I think it's just Melon doing whatever the fuck it wants. Max says you're awake. I am. I got a little bit of sleep last night, and I tried to actually recuperate by taking a nap today. But I ended up talking to that hot chick. So I do that sometimes. Mistake. Should have slept.
The boner lady.
To the kid boner girl. What? What's that guy talking about?
I was gonna say this similar thing happened to me in a different way in 2003. It was right before I met, or not 2004. It was right before I met my wife. We went on this internet date, right?
Yeah.
And went down to OB. Met this woman slightly older than me, maybe by several years, but super hot. We're having drinks, and then she's telling me about where she her life, and then I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, my dad used to do security down by there. She's like, where? And I was like, yeah, over at the body shop. And she's like, because she used to work at Lay Girls. She's like, Frank? And I'm like, oh, and then she knew me and my dad, and then it got really weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was like, I can't date this guy's kid. It was like that when Monica and Friends, you don't like Friends, but there's an episode where she ends up meeting like her ex-boyfriend, who's an older guy, his kid, who's her age,
Right.
He's like, I think, she's slightly older than him, but he's like, I think he used to babysit me. she's like, So it was one of those things. Like, out of all the people in this fucking city, I had to meet one woman that was friends with my dad. Like, come on, like,
yeah. Yeah. I was. Yeah. It was. That was a weird experience. But I will say, well, no, I won't say it. I'll tell you later. He says, oh wait, actually, I did not mean to close that comment down. I'll find it again someday. I'm sure I'll find it. Okay, yeah, here it is. Joel says, I watched the Blade Runner documentary based on Rob's recommendation. Really cool.
Yeah. Dangerous Days, I think it's called.
Yeah, you locked up again for me, but fuck it, we'll just leave it for now.
But they can hear me.
Yeah. I mean, no, and I don't know if you're locked up for them or if it's just on my end, because it might just be what I'm seeing. Because
we'll find out when we rewatch it. I'll rewatch the stream and see if it actually happened to me.
And somebody could just tell us if they're in the stream. But anyways, All Hands on Deck says, feel the hatred flow through you. And then he said, okay, so All Hands says it's fine here. So, all right, yeah, I think he just came back. What the hell, Melon? Melon's crazy now. Wait, you are back. You were just being really still when you came back. Oh, it's so dumb. Anyways.
I do this weird thing when I'm talking on the phone. I'll talk and go completely silent.
Yeah.
I just know when to stop. And it always throws people off. They're like, hello? You there? What's up? Are you here? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I thought you just stopped. I'm like, yeah, I stopped talking.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it throws people off.
Yeah. No, that's like when I'm like doing an interview, for instance, like sometimes you want them to know that you're engaged, that you are listening. So I'll be like, yeah. Yeah, and stuff like that. And like you don't really want to do that when you're doing like an interview on a show like this.
When people do it. I hate it.
I just did it.
When someone has to go, yeah, all right, oh yeah, I hate that. Like
that's
what I do to people when I'm tired of them.
Oh yeah.
It's the Kevin Nealon thing. I do that to my wife because he would always go, oh yeah, yeah, and so I do that to my wife whenever I'm tired. I go, ooh, yeah, and she goes, you motherfucker. You can just go now. Yeah, okay, all right.
I showed my kids Phil Hartman's Frozen Caveman Lawyer the other day.
Caveman, which they stole for Birdman Lawyer, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much. But
they just stole that whole routine.
It's so good. It's so good.
Simple Caveman Lawyer. How Geico didn't get him? Was he already dead by the time? He might have already
well, I don't. He was kind of like. Yeah, no, he was still around, I think, when that started.
Caveman Lawyer. I could save 30% on your car insurance.
I bet you if he was around, that would have been a thing. There definitely it would have become an ad at some point, I bet. But yeah, Bill Hartman's like one of those dudes that like I don't want to say it was kind of taken for granted in a way. Not that he was like on the skids or anything like that, but like after he was gone, it was like, oh shit, like where's Phil Hartman? Need Phil Hartman in this, and stuff like that. And yeah, that
He plays that. That's my favorite part of Jingle All the Way, when he's trying to bone Schwarzenegger's wife the whole movie.
yeah, it's great.
That is the actual best part of that film. Is like he just can't win. He's this big muscular guy, but this guy's there for her every need.
Yeah,
and he's takes care of his kids supposedly.
supposedly. Well, also, I mean, I'm gonna say that when Arnold punches the reindeer is pretty good too.
Yeah, that's good. We need there's a multiverse where we got an Ocean's 11 style movie where it was Bill Paxton's shitty character from True Lies and Phil Hartman's character from it's all these guys. They have to team up to try and like get like some old broad's money, like a Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
I don't know if it was true or if it was like a joke, but I heard that they were making a Turbo Man movie.
They just released Turbo Man toy. They put the dolls out. Big Bad Toy Store put them up because I sent them over to the guys at Megavision. So it's like they're making Turbo Man. You can actually buy them. I don't know, man. Like Turbo Man would be funny. Who owns that now? Does Disney own it? Is that a Fox thing?
Yeah, I think it was a Fox thing. Yeah.
He needs to be in Toy Story 5. They make another Toy Story. Turbo Man needs to make
Turbo
an
Man
appearance.
should show up. Yeah. It's like. I mean, it's like it is like a diarrhea movie, but it's a really good diarrhea movie. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate movies of that time for the most part. Like comedies of that time, they really suck. It just happens to be one that's so like it's so shitty, and it accidentally is like effective at doing what it's supposed to do. It's like a really efficient shitty movie. I don't know.
Well, I worked at Playco at the time, and I would have been able to go there to that, but I had just joined like right after they all went up there to go help out with that shoot because they needed a bunch of those are like real Playco employees. There's a couple actor dudes and then everyone around them are Playco employees. They just got brought up there. So they all went up and I was like, shit, I just missed it.
Yeah. Wait, Jesse says his turn in Axe Murder as an Alcatraz tour guide. Was that in So I Married an Axe Murder? Is he in that one?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one that well. Yeah, Mike Myers he's a weird one. Like
that and Austin Powers and the Wayne's World. Because after Austin Powers 1, I tune out of anything he did.
Yeah, like
until Inglourious Bastards.
As I'm showing tonight, I hate everything. And Austin Powers, I was just like, this is not really an inspired James Bond, parody or whatever. I'm like, why are they doing this now?
Inspired.
And then but then you had like a bunch of idiots who've never seen the James Bond movie, just totally in love with it, quoting it, and I'm just like, do you even know why this is funny right now? Half the time, and but I loved Wayne's World 1 though. That was my shit, Wayne's World 1, and I guess I kind of like Wayne's World 2. Wayne's World 2, I
love it. Come on, the Graduate, the whole Graduate bit.
Yeah, and the like Jim Morrison stuff is so dumb. You know what I mean? But it's like
Bob Lowe is a great foil. Like it's really good. It's just that I think the first one, because it was a product of reshoots, it has a unique vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that movie, when they first shot the movie was only 30 minutes long.
Really?
They went and shot more, but then they shot more bits. And then they got up to like an hour, like we got to shoot more bits, and that's why the Bohemian Rhapsody goes in there. It's literally a time killer.
Yeah.
So they were so used to shooting short for TV that they just didn't know how to time everything out.
Yeah.
So they did reshoots 3 times to shoot more footage, not because it wasn't funny. So it just has a weird vibe. And the second movie was directed by. Was the first movie, she was directed by a woman, right?
Penelope Spheris, I believe.
And she's a true musician, like music. Like she did a lot of documentaries.
She did the Decline of Western Civilization, the punk.
Yeah, so that movie has a special place. But as for comedy sequels, Wayne's World 2 is one of the few that's actually funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I can watch it. It's not as good as the first one, but when I say not as good, I mean like take like 5-point drop,
Yeah.
Compared to say Anchorman 2, which is like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Or those two Dumb and Dumber sequels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and then and then being a curmudgeon of that time, of the early 2000s, of the Austin Powers era, it drives me fucking crazy that people think Shrek is good. Like Shrek got good ironically, where people like Shrek, and then now it's like no, Shrek is good. Shrek is not good. It's not.
Well, I'm gonna say something you may not like, but Shrek suffers the same problem that The Last Jedi suffers from, and that's when you're
Green stuff?
commentating on the actual meta stuff. You know,
Yeah.
Shrek is meta. Let's make the anti-Disney movie. Well, ha ha ha. You know, and you do that at peril. They go, it's subversive. And I'm like, I don't like subversive content. Like if it's unironically subversive, or if you're a fucking genius and you can do that, I just don't know very many geniuses who can pull up subversive. Like,
Yeah, like I didn't know anything about Shrek, and I went to see it on a date, and I was like, I thought we were going to see a stupid fantasy movie, but I didn't know that it was like going to, basically just be modern parody kind of in it. And I was like, oh, isn't it funny if fantasy people were just like us, or that kind of thing? It's like, it's fucking stupid. And I just don't, yeah. And then now
it's nowhere near as funny as Emperor's New Groove, which was also a product of being made at the last second because they didn't know what they were doing. Funny Shrek story though. I got one if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
My uncle, right, the radio guy.
Oh, the guy who won all the contest.
My uncle Dennis. I'll just say my uncle Dennis. He spent his entire
Can we
adult life.
Can we call him Uncle Monopoly Game?
Uncle Monopoly Game. We can do that. My Uncle Monopoly Game. By the way, he did play the McDonald Monopoly game.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think it's a ripoff. Like, because he was used to winning everything. And he's like, I can't win at this. There must be a trick. And that's because they were tricking people.
Yeah.
But he won. So he was like, hey, we got tickets to this Shrek movie, come down. And I'm like, why? He's like, they're going to have food. And so I was like, all right, sandwiches. I'll go get free. I was in college. So I brought my buddy with me. And they would do these radio things where they said, look under your seat, and whoever has a thing under their seat wins something. And my uncle would always know when he came in, because he'd been doing this for 20, 30 years at this point, to look under seats, right? So he was sitting under. He got there early. He knew how this worked. Okay. And so he goes up there and he goes, you win free lifetime subscription to, was it free Cold Stone for like lifetime ice cream, right? My uncle's fucking giant.
Well, he has a Cold Stone.
So when he gets up for the free ice cream for lifetime, everyone was booing him.
No, he's the guy.
Boo! You don't need, bro. They were not. They were the whole fucking. And my uncle was like, he gave.
I feel the opposite. I feel
the radio people, bro, were horrified. They were like, this is not the. It was a family event. They got people with cameras, you know. Never seen it devolve so quickly, you know.
I mean, no, it's like if someone without legs won robot legs. like the fat guy needs Cold Stone. Like, why would anybody be mad about that? It's somebody who could use it. Somebody who's gonna use it.
By the way, we all went and got Cold Stone afterward.
Yeah.
So Rob,
I have so many questions now. Is there like a card that says like Cold Stone for life? Like he's in the system and they just know, oh shit. Like how does it work?
They also won, he got his whole family lifetime Disneyland passes.
Yeah. Back
in the 90s. They won that too. So
he just has forever. He could just go forever just so he can get on a permanent list.
Yeah.
So what are the stipulations? Like, can he just get like one ice cream a day? Yeah. Cause I'm curious.
I think it's one a day. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But forever.
Yeah. Well, what was the thing he won that was in the house that was super big? You talked about it before.
The Tomorrowland re-release when they redid Tomorrowland and that Da Vinci steampunk dark crystal.
Yeah.
Oculus thing, they had a Tomorrowland Coca-Cola vending machine that he won, and they had like a 2-bedroom condo, like a duplex, like not even a duplex, like this was like a condo
So
kind of thing.
wait, was it like the dispenser for like a soft drink or whatever you call it with ice, or was it like a
No,
can,
like a vending machine,
like a can? Okay,
like the one outside a fucking
yeah,
a store, yeah, that's giant and weighs a ton. And it's in their living room. My Aunt Rosa, his wife, my Aunt Rosa, was just like, I fucking hate this thing.
yeah.
He had to get rid of it eventually because what are you gonna do? It just sat there. Yeah.
Me and my friend in high school, we tried to win the Monopoly game at McDonald's, and our McDonald's was the best McDonald's for a high schooler because it was run for some reason by the oldest people ever. It was only old people. It was like they decided, let's just hire really old people. When I say old people, I'm not fucking around. I'm like talking like 80 years old. Like no one who worked at that McDonald's is alive today for sure. and so what we would do is we would go in, and they couldn't ever remember that we were there. So we would just hang out all day at McDonald's if we wanted to ditch and like not get caught. Like if we were afraid we're gonna get caught, we would just like stay at the McDonald's. But what we would do is we would like get one drink, and we'd take our pencil from our box and we'd poke a hole in the bottom of it, and we'd be like, "Oh, this cup is leaking," and they give us a new one, and we would take the Monopoly piece off, free hash brown, thank you. We just keep doing it, and like we'd hang out all day, and but we can never win. We would get 10, 11 of those a day, and we couldn't win obviously, and now we know why. But
yeah, he figured that out quickly too
from that documentary. But yeah, I don't think I've ever won. The only thing I ever won, I think and this isn't even really winning, is remember on the back of the Star Wars packages for Phantom Menace, they had see you later, Mr. Hands on Deck. He's got to bounce. But do you remember how they had Jedi Master Points on the Phantom Menace toys?
Yeah, vaguely, but I do remember this.
When next time you're out, at a comic book store or somewhere, and you see one, pick it up and look at it. On the back, there's this thing that said Jedi Master Points,
like the Decepticon points on the Transformers boxes and stuff. Remember these had those little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but these didn't do anything, and the whole time. So every Phantom Menace toy I bought, I'm like, these might do something. I'm cutting them out. I have this like stack of them. I have hundreds of them at this point, and I'm telling all my friends, I'm like, if you guys don't want it, I'll take those, because I'm like that guy's dad, who wanted the Marlboro points that would like show up to like the Little League game in like a NASCAR Marlboro costume. That
like
guy,
full Joe Camel and shit, right?
Yeah, fucking fucking Joe Camel jacket. Like, what's up, guys? Like my new, it's velour. It's velour. But anyways,
you and John Peters.
Yeah, John Peters had one, but he earned it. He smoked those camels. But anyways, it was like so I'm saving them all, and then like eventually people are just like, this is fucked up, you guys. Like this should be for something, and they were launching like HasbroShop.com, so they turned it into like an auction. They were going to do a Jedi Master Points auction, and they were like, it's going to be for all this really cool exclusive Star Wars stuff. And when it finally comes out, it has nothing to do with Hasbro for the most part. They were like, oh, Pepsi sent us this, we'll put this out there. So like I bid it, and I won a case. Remember the Pepsi cans?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a case with like a Naboo Starfighter on it. It was like silver, and then like it opened up, and there was like this door has all of the cans, this middle section has all the cans, and this had all the cans, and it was like all of them, they're all drained. But what was cool about it is when people buy them, they have to like poke a hole in the bottom and drain the can. This set, it was made like that, like it was never had soda in it, so it's like a perfect can. So it's pretty cool. Somebody actually,
have you sold that? Do you still have it?
I know I did. I sold it. I sold it a couple of years ago, and somebody gave me a couple $100 for it. Like, was actually like really interested in it. And I also, like, at the time I had the Pepsi the R2D2 cooler, the very first one, that came out for Phantom Menace. They made one for special editions actually, and the liquor store by me meant to give it to me. Another guy who looked like me showed up, and they
Talking
gave
about
it
the
to
big
him.
one that hold the cans of the ice in it. It looked like R2D2, right?
Yeah.
With the bubble top, right?
Yeah, and I used it as a hamper. Like that's what I used it for. It was cool to have like the
That's
open
something
thing.
my uncle wanted. I guarantee you, he wanted that. He
Yeah.
did win. So there was a point of contention because he won. So in order to win all the time, he'd have to use other people's names. So I would be winning things, other people would be winning things. And so he built this crew of, like, I call them the Whack Pack because that's what they were. They were literally like Howard Stern's Whack Pack, but there were all these people of limited to mild intelligence. Okay, like I'm not trying to be nice, but if you met him, that's the nicest
like,
way to put it.
This is Johnny 2 times. Yeah. He has free IHOP for life, but it's mine.
And then they would all eventually turn on one another, like the Sith, and like. So my uncle won that life-size Yoda replica, right? Or they were giving these things away.
Yeah, the Pepsi one, the Pepsi Lay's
he
one.
won it in another dude's name, and the dude wouldn't give it up.
I don't blame him.
And it just became this fucking like point of contention over the Yoda. And my uncle, who was slipping, who now has gone full alt-right Trumpy. It's sad we don't talk.
Yeah.
But at the time he was like, you could see he was getting there, right? Because he was like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. And I was like, it's just you win enough, man. Like you have you can't. What are you gonna first he had already been divorced and he had like a 1-bedroom condo, right? That the military gave him. And I'm like, where are you gonna put a fucking life-size Yoda in this place? You barely have room, you know? Like, but he just couldn't handle that the guy wouldn't give up the Yoda. You know,
I wonder if he's gonna win a life-size supply of like ivermectin or whatever it's called at this point.
Right. So I know I just couldn't deal with him anymore. But yeah, I miss it because he was one of those guys like when remember the Superpowers toys? So
the old cartoon
line of DC figures.
Yeah.
So there was a series of toys Kenner made called Superpowers.
Yeah.
Right. And so had Batman and Superman. They have these cloth capes you put around their neck and stuff. There was this giveaway where it said if you mailed in, you could get a Clark Kent. Right. And my uncle was like, that's going to be the one that's worth the money because he was one of those guys who went through, oh, my parents gave away all my toys. Now I'm going to have all the toys and we'll sell them one day. And so he would get a bunch of these Superpowers toys at like the penny, the pick and save and he would get all these points up, these proofs of purchases. And he just had like 100 Clark Kents, you know, and they'd arrive in a baggie. And he'd be like, you want a Clark Kent? Take Clark Kent's gonna be worth something. And so I'd have like 4 Clark Kents, but no fucking Superpowers toys because my dad wouldn't buy me any.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and so I would just have to play with my fucking Clark Kents. You know?
What do you want to do? Well, I want to grow up to be an artist. Well, me too.
I had to like go, okay, one's a Martian Manhunter pretending to be Clark Kent. Like I had to try to go, one's a Mitsaplex who's also pretending to be a Clark Kent. Like,
Well, because I will find an excuse to talk about Fortnite. In Fortnite, they put Superman in the other day for the last season, I should say. And when it starts, you have to unlock Clark Kent, and then you have to do a couple of quests in game to unlock Superman, and then you could eventually get like a bunch of added stuff, and then eventually like the black costume Superman. But my kids really wanted Superman, and when they unlocked Clark Kent to start, they were like, "Fuck this." They wouldn't do it. I had to go and like start it for him, and then like did it, and they're like, "Okay, I'm Superman now, cool." But I remember I think it was Christmas or some holiday or something, I got one Superpowers action figure, and it was Lex Luthor, and I think he was like wearing like a weird green suit with purple, maybe. It was very bizarre, but I remember as a kid being like, "This sucks." Yeah, and then Burger King put out like super friends or Superpowers, whatever, like these like cups with like the Batman and Superman. They would like hold the cup.
yeah.
He used to buy those, thinking that like somehow they were going to magically become action figures that were fun, but they always sucked.
Well, I don't want to turn this into a story about Uncle Bob before I forget, because I will forget this.
No, I love those stories about your uncle.
Costco has a rule now
Yeah.
They have a rule that says that if you leave the area with your cup, you cannot get a refill. And it's because of my uncle. My uncle, who was really big into the Eagle Scouts and Boy Scouts, found out that, oh, if you just save your cup, they never question you if you come back and fill it up. And so he would train all the fucking Boy Scouts to get into vans and pull up to all these Costco's. And they would just unload whole legions of kids that would go and fill up all their fucking sodas. And then he'd save and rinse out the cups, and then and he'd feed the whole troops off one fucking soda purchase. And so Costco now has a rule. That's because of my uncle.
And yeah, my last girlfriend was a vegetarian, and kind of hard to find lots of foods that were like easy to do, like for her going out and stuff.
Vegetarian or vegan, because it's even three times as hard the other way.
Yeah, she was mostly she tried to be a vegan, but she was mostly a vegetarian.
Okay.
She would have eggs if she had to and stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, but they made it where at Costco, I used to just be able to go get the vegetarian pizza from there. Very cheap, cool thing if we were just gonna like hang out at home, do nothing, and they changed it so that you have to have a membership now. You can't just get a Costco pizza because you want to. And
yeah, you have to have the membership to get the pizza. Right?
Yeah, I don't need that shit. I don't need a fucking quart of ketchup. I just need to go buy a little thing of ketchup, and it'll last me for the whole month.
Here's where you make your money back at Costco, bro. Cheese and meat.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you pay in bulk cheese and it keeps in meat, you're better off just getting cheese and meat from cheese, meat, and coffee. And Kirkland coffee, like whole bean coffee, it's better than pretty much anything else. So, but that was all I would use Costco for, was cheese, like blocks of parm and blocks of cheddar, whatever, chicken, and then the coffee. But got to get that slice of pizza on the way out.
Yeah,
it's quite good. Like, I don't know what they do. I told my wife, I was like, there's nothing Italian about this, and it is its own thing, but it is uniquely really good. It has this perfect, like, squishy, when you bite into it, it has that perfect juicy. I don't know what the fuck that is, but that is, like, they nailed it, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's strangely good. Same thing with Sam's Club. Like the Sam's Club Polish hot dog for like, I think they might have raised the price now, but he's like $1.50 or whatever. And that with that soda, man, that was a good deal. I'm a fan of the crushed ice. Crushed ice sells it to me.
Yeah, I like crushed ice.
Yeah,
my family on my mother's side, which is my uncle's side, they were all like super Roman Catholic, right? And there's this like Roman Catholic church. If you go up to 8, right off, well, not the 8, but the 8 to the 163 on San Diego, there's this like church thing on the top. Looks like a temple, but it's actually a Catholic church.
Okay.
And that's where they would go. And my uncle would make kielbasa over there.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, that's their church. So
yeah,
like,
I used to think it was like a Scientology building or something, but
no, it's Roman Catholic. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And so, look, bro, I had to go for Easter twice, and they put that incense in there. I'm like, this fucking sucks. But he would make kielbasa, and super fucking tasty, right? But I eat so much of it, I'm like, I can never fucking eat another kielbasa ever again, dude. But my father would never stop eating the fucking sausage. I was like, you got to stop. You're gonna get the gout, Dad. Like, you can't. This is not good. Yeah. He was living off that for like months. But yeah, they make sausage up there. So I think they sell it to the public. If you ever check it out, if you want to get really good Polish sausage, that's the way to go. Because my family, they came from Poland. Like,
on 4th of July, I started talking to this girl, and she started, it's like, oh well, I feel like I could really tell you anything, and I'm like, oh, thanks. This is a little bit awkward. And then she like looks at me and she goes, I have psychic powers. I'm like, what?
Excellent.
And I'm like, okay, here we are now. And then she's like, but she goes, I also see ghosts. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, there's like an old woman who's standing behind you with her hand on your shoulder. And I look behind me. I'm like, okay. I'm like, really? So what's her name? And she's like, I'm pretty sure it's your grandmother. Her name was Jane. I'm like, no, her name wasn't Jane. And then she's like, it's like every single thing she was saying was wrong and
You should
nowhere
have just
close.
agreed with it.
Well, no, I started to feel bad. And as it goes on, she's like, you have a foot injury. And I don't. But like years ago, I went to SeaWorld and Shamu splashed my foot with this stupid water. And then I got like an ingrown toenail from walking around for like all day with wet shoe.
Checks out.
And then I'm like, oh yeah. And so I'm like, well, kind of, but it healed. Like it's fine now. And then she's like, you know what? You have gout. I'm like, I do? I have gout?
Stop eating salami.
And she's like, yeah. She's like, you need to stop drinking. And I'm like, I definitely will. I
am not psychic, but
I rarely
I had
drink.
one of those weird moments. It's that beginning of Ghostbusters where he kind of had something and it happened on accident and it almost got me into weird trouble. So I went on this date. There was a period right before I met my wife for like a year where I was just dating online, right? And that's the only time in my life I actually dated like a bunch of different people. I went on this date with this girl and she had her real name wasn't on she wouldn't get, her handle. She had a handle, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. And so we're at this dinner and she goes, bet you can't guess my real name. Right? And I didn't think about it. I go, Stormy. And then she got real fucking, who are you? How do you know my name?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I just did there, right? I've never met anyone named Stormy. I've never heard of anyone named Stormy. Don't know anything about it, but bro, it's her fucking name, like with a Y. Like, and she was like, "Who are you?" And it turns out she had a husband, and she was thinking I was like his. Like she thought I was like, yeah.
Was it Stormy Daniels?
Huh? No, but there you go. Yeah. You know what? Are you familiar with like San Diego in any way, like in the 80s?
Yeah.
They had a family fun center in La Mesa.
Okay.
It had water slides. Right. And then when they built this section of freeway right through there that cuts through Grossmont that went right through it. They paved through our fucking family funds. She was friends with the family that owned that. So like, that's kind of like how we hit off. It was one of those things like we were like, oh, I know someone from, I'm like, oh, you know that? Yeah, I know the family funds from best friends. And we were like, all right. So what's my real name? Stormy. And then she thought I was some fucking private investigator. But it's one of those weird moments where how did I fucking guess of all the fucking names, right? like in the world, man.
Yeah. No, I've had that happen on dating apps where I just like, like start looking at something and then like they have their like Instagram account connected. And then like, I'm like, oh, like, I'll be like something stupid. Like, I like your Return of the Jedi blanket or something like that. And they're like, how do you know I have a Return of the Jedi blanket? They start getting like all weird. I'm like, it's right there. Like, it's like, it took me 1 second to like look at it. I like this one right here. Wait, hold on. This was so ridiculous. We're just doing dating app stuff now. For a minute anyway. So
it's Star Wars related. Anakin would have been on one.
Well, I think this girl's checking out a Star Wars shirt or something. But so she's like, wow, like you're direct or something like that. Okay, I'm like, yeah, I don't fuck around. But she's all unfortunately, 85% of the men on here that like me have the same thing on their profile, just like you. Monogamous and hookups. This is a joke. I don't care if I should be disgusted or flattered. I definitely will not meet Mr. Right here. I think at this point, blah, 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 this site is a joke. This is the Onion of dating sites. Now I'm out. I was like, whoa, my whole thing is if I'm not in a relationship, sure, I'm down to bone. I'll do it. I'll do a hookup with a hot person if I'm not in a relationship. I'm relatable. But that person obviously doesn't understand what the definitions of this stuff are. But she continued on and on. She didn't stop. That continues. And then I just didn't say anything. And then I was like, block, But I
Right.
had to screenshot it because I was like, this person's crazy.
Now she's outside your house with the say anything boombox.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
shit is it's wild out there, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I had somebody DM me too, who's like, I liked you on whatever platform it was, and you never responded. Can you just go look at it and respond? And I was like kind of flattered, but then I was like super scared because I'm like, this shit's it's not completely obvious. Like I'm not like I'm making Star Wars, but it's a weird world
Well,
out there.
I get this with commissions.
Mhm.
So like people commissioning you for art is very similar to dating. Like in that, hey man, are you available for a commission? Hey man, you want to go out to do something? Hey, this would be great if we did this. How much is it? Oh, no. We're just like, how long is it taking? Where is it? Is it getting here? When's it getting there? And then when they get it, never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they get real freaking weird. I got a few not too long ago from like three different people who hit me up about charities.
Mhm.
And I'm all for doing charities. Like when you do the Kessel Toy Run, I chipped in on that. You know what I mean? And I was telling everyone at like my wife's work about it and shit because I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But sometimes people hit me up with charity just to get Rob to give them free art. And it's like I'm not against all that, but like I also don't have a lot of time to make custom art for everyone,
Yeah.
And it's like, just, hey, I'm with the thing. Would you be interested? Fine. But then I get this wall of fucking text, like I'm not reading all this. So I just ignore it. And then they follow me to every other social platform. Hey, did you read my thing? Did you read my thing? Did you read my thing? I'm like, no. And then I'll go reply to each one of these. No, I didn't read it. No, I didn't read it. No, I didn't read it. Because I don't know what to do at that point because you guys are psycho.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned that when I became single that visual artists clearly have a really big problem with being hit up by people to like I went out with a girl who was in visual arts and we were talking about our stuff and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. I had this idea for this music thing. And I was like, yeah, if you want to do like if you'd be interested to do something like that, I'd be down to like work with you because it could be fun. And I was talking like you do art and I do music, like we could do a thing. And boy, that person flipped the fuck out. I am an artist. I don't work for free. I was like, I didn't say I wasn't going to pay you, but I also didn't say I was going to pay you. We didn't talk about anything like that. But and then the very next girl I went out with was also a visual artist. And I was like, hey, I had this weird thing. And she's like, yeah, people all was trying to get me to like draw their office logos and bullshit like that. And I'm like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. So is that kind of your experience too? Does that just like
no, well, sometimes they get those. Can you draw? I got one guy that recently was like, I have this piece of art I want to commission you for, and I'm drawing Batman's, and he has this big like mural with like tropical trees and shit and gators. Looks like something out of Florida. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking to get this, and I'm like, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I clearly don't do anything like that, Well, I mean, but you could, right? I'm like, no, that's above my pay grade. Like,
I mean, if you really wanted to, you could though, right?
So what I'll do is I'll get family members who want like logos. Hey Rob, could you help me out with the logo? I got my cousin the other week. She was she hit me up because she's part of some nonprofit, sure, and she's like, we did a logo and I had someone who's gonna make me one and it didn't work out. I don't know what to do. And she showed me what she was going to do. And I'm like, look, I can fix this. Let me just fix it. And she's like, well, just charge whatever you're going to charge and we'll write it off for taxes. I'm like, I'm not going to do that because I don't trust anything. When people tell me to write things off, I'm like, that's when I'll get audited.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just give you it and just be kind.
Yeah.
Be cool. Send me a Ko-fi, right? I don't want any of your weird tax fucking schemes,
Right.
Because charge me whatever, you know what I mean? You write it off. Like nothing about that sounds not. You have to make $1 billion to get away with that shit. Like feds come raid Rob's house for $300 fucking charge,
Yeah, I saw this thing on the news, and they were talking about like people who make under $1 million don't really get audited. And I was like, is that true? And then every single time I would talk about it, people would be like, I don't know, man. My cousin Steve, yeah, he got audited and he only makes like 40 grand a year. And I was like,
Yeah, well, the IRS admitted to it last year. Was it the last year or the year before? They admitted that they don't because the wealthy can just litigate forever and it runs their resources dry. So now they're just auditing people who don't have the means to protect themselves in court. And so this is how an oligarchy grows, right?
yeah,
This is how kleptocracies continue. This is literally a George Lucas, prequel nightmare we're living in. Probably why I've come to really like the prequels more is I'm like, we're fucking living in it. You know what I mean? Like, quite fucking frankly. Like, had the sequels been about a fucking pandemic that was turning everyone into the Sith, then like that would have been something. Like,
yeah.
oh, I showed my wife the Ninth Jedi, by the way, today.
Oh yeah, what did you think?
She was like, this should have been the movie. Like, she
Mhm.
was like, out of all the ones, she's like, that's the one she's like responded to. It's like, this is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People, I meant to plug it at the start of the show today on Star Wars Santa's show. He did like a bracket kind of thing, this one against that one to get up to what was the most liked episode. Obviously, it's just of who's in the chat in his show on that day, but it was pretty interesting and kind of fun to see how people reacted. At its core, I don't really agree with holding it against itself. Like people weren't doing the same thing. It's like the 2-1B and the Ninth Jedi. They don't have the same goals, so it's like kind of like ridiculous in a way. But it was a fun show and a fun thing just to see like what people liked. But I guess let's say it's the end of the show, so it probably doesn't matter. But it's like I think it was the first one everybody liked the best, like, pretty much across the board was that first episode.
The
But
Ninth Jedi is way better than the first episode.
Ninth Jedi, I think that Ninth Jedi might have got second place. But yeah, all right, well, we did it, and thanks for doing it a little bit later, and for doing it an extra a little bit later than usual. And I hope it doesn't cut into your day too much and everything that stuff. And cool to have everybody in the chat who was able to make it late. And yeah, and we'll have to see what happens tomorrow, but I think we'll do one tomorrow. Unless and if something big happens and really interesting, then we'll definitely do it tomorrow. But if tomorrow's a dead day, I think we might just be like, you know what, we'll come back Monday. Because
yeah, it's definitely easier for me in the middle of the day. So
yeah,
like I told you, I kind of wake up on time around between 9 and 10. Sometimes it's closer to 10, but I still have to make coffee and all that other stuff. So
yeah, that was why tonight I was like, we're gonna start at 9, and I was like, I messaged you and you didn't say anything back. I'm like, he's probably still not awake. So I was like, yeah, we'll just get to it if he wants to get to it. It's like, if not,
I've learned that if I need to sleep in, I sleep in a little bit because,
Sure.
mental health.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's not like we're not if like something huge happened, Phantom Menace Part 2 was announced. We got to get on that. We got to talk about that right now.
Didn't you say the Book of Boba is going to have a musician? We didn't talk anything about.
What's that? What's that? Oh, you know what?
Your thumbnail has a bunch of shit in it that we didn't talk anything about.
Well,
you got a Shrek story.
I mean, honestly, I put it in the title. Ludwig
That
Gorson.
was the announcement.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you guys need? I fucking told you. I mean, it was right there.
Because in my head, I'm like, I do remember seeing. Oh, I know, because it's in your thumbnail.
So filmmusicreporter.com, Ludwig Göransson scoring Disney Plus's The Book of Boba Fett. And Ludwig is returning as composer of the upcoming Disney Plus original series Book of Boba Fett. The show stars Tamara Morrison in the title role, with Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand, both of which are reprising their roles from Lucasfilm's first Star Wars live-action series, The Mandalorian. So yeah, it goes on and on. And but that's all that it says. And it was just like, oh, is there something to talk about there? Well, all it does is I think it just hammers home more of the concept or the idea, the rumor, however you want to say it, that Book of Boba Fett was Mandalorian season 3, essentially, just retitled into this new thing. The end. We did it. We got it. We're good.
We got to do a Star Wars show where we talk about everything but Star Wars till the last 3 seconds and just read off the news. Star Wars.
we read dating app interactions before the Mandalorian news.
Dude, I gave him vague psychic powers. I spent more time.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Oh, it's so good. Anytime you start doing that straight, you do straight man so well. Like I can't. I will be the guy who laughs in every fucking scene. Like I can't do. Like I need to do 100 takes before I'll stop laughing. Like, but you can go right there. That's why I muted the mic, because it's just listening to you read that. Is
yeah.
Like we told the news. There's the news.
We told it. I mean, I just feel like at this point, if you're with us, you know what we're about. We're gonna do it.
Show's better when Rob's not on. Stay on point. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't argue with you there. Like you will definitely stay on point.
Show's better when it's not about this guy who can't get laid talking about it all the time.
Like Max has way better stories than I do. Like Max is living life. Like I was like, because I missed the first part of the interview, live, so I went back and listened to him. Like Max has like that is someone that I'm like, look, man, I live in my room, and like I used to go outside before the pandemic, sort of. But Max is living the real fucking life. And I figure you're somewhere in between pre-pandy, right? Like sometimes you're doing the musician gig thing, but that Max has like a real life. And I'm like, our stories are just like pathetic. I got a little dick. Like, we're that equivalent. Like Max is not having real adventures like Schwarzenegger in True Lies.
No, tater tot. That's tater tot.
My favorite is when he clinks the glasses with Jamie Lee Curtis and they're plastic. Yeah, fantastic interview with Max. Actually, super good.
Yeah. All of her designs are pretty fucking cool, and I was, I've seen a lot of that stuff. Like, over the years, it's like independent. Here's this. It was kind of cool to see it all brought kind of together. And also, I don't know if anybody's ever covered like anything so unique, you know what I mean, in terms of like somebody's like done designs for like shows and stuff. It's pretty, so I thought it was cool. But yeah. Well, awesome. I have to have Max on, especially because when not that we want Max on wasted, but Max with a drink or two is fucking hilarious. It's very all about business last night. But that was business Max. The other one was I love Star Wars. I love anime Max. But little bit toasty Max. Oh, it's hilarious. So yeah.
Wait till one of those like not so fun Star Wars shows shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Max, have a drink and tell us what you think about it. I'm certain it's a hood. Like
that's good. It's good, yeah. But so we'll I guess we'll like play tomorrow by ear, especially with it doing it later kind of goes into your weekend, I think, too. But,
I really got to wrap up this art. I'm dragging shit out now.
Yeah, and if something, and then just so people in the chat know, if whatever, I will, if something newsworthy happens during the day, I'll definitely like get on and like cover it too. You know what I mean?
Time yourself 20 minutes tops, dude. Don't do a whole full show right before you do a show thing. Like
that was the plan.
Draining the shit out of you. I think the last one you did. At the end, you're like, I got another show in an hour.
Oh shit.
I need to eat and bathe, and
it's like it's like when we do this, it's like a stop and chat. You're like, hey, and then it's like you get going, and you're like, oh shit. Sometimes the time goes by, but Yeah,
Don't
and if
take chat questions when you're doing news. That's my advice. Like, save it for the big show, you know?
Yeah, there's a weird thing too, like when because you're able to like pre-record, but I think when I pre-record, it's 480p or some shit. But when I record this other way, it's 720. I'm like,
On
why
OBS?
No, well, on Melon, just using Melon as the program, not using OBS
that's
like
weird.
as a yeah. So, anyways, but that's the way it goes. So, anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow or Monday. I need to talk to Jason. Might be doing a UFO show on Saturday. I think I'm going to, but we'll have to see. It's been an exhausting week, so we'll see how everything goes. But you know, I always say I won't do something, and once I say I won't, then I do it.
It's not about spaceships.
Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show. Making Star Wars Show.